All right, cool. All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Karla, and welcome to our December, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's December 3rd call. And before we get started, I want to just really take a little quick minute to recap exactly what we've been doing on these calls and to talk to you guys a little bit about what it is that we're going to be doing these next 4 weeks. And that is, for the last, I think, almost 12 weeks now, we have been doing these call series, and the topic was all around leadership. And for those of you who are just joining on the call for the very first time, the first 6 weeks was all about self-awareness. It's not easy to lead people if you don't lead yourself. And the main principle and the whole thing about it was to really be an effective leader, we must first really know who we are, like our style to be an authentic leader, to know who we are, how we think, and what it is that's really important to us. So the first 6 weeks was all about that. And the reason why I'm doing the recap on that is because it's really relevant to what we're going to be talking about for the next 4 weeks. And that is, for the next 4 weeks, we're really going to be bringing down like exactly what is it going to take to really manifest or to start being in alignment with what we want for 2014. So this call series will only be for 4 weeks. And it's so great because at the end of this 4 weeks, we're actually going to be having a guest speaker in San Jose who's going to actually be doing an exercise with everybody at the Otilia event that's going to really help to anchor in exactly like what it is that we're teaching. So it's going to be perfect. So anyhow, back to the reason why I'm recapping really quick is that the first 4 weeks was really all about being self-aware. Being self-aware meaning that you're understanding not only like what you're thinking, but being present to what it is that you're saying to yourself, what it is that you're actually thinking about, visualizing, etc. And a lot of people started sharing how important it was for them because they had never really stopped and like listened to themselves. They never really stopped and like acknowledged, oh my God, like I'm having all these thoughts. And while I'm saying one thing, I'm actually, while I'm doing one thing inside my head, I'm saying another. While I want one thing inside my head, I'm really saying something else. And why that's so significant is because today we're going to really talk about how to start aligning yourself with what it is that you want, your goals. And really, this is something that I did to build my business. When I was 23 years old, I was able to hit the meal team status in 13 months. And if I go back and if I think, what did I do and how did I do it? I mean, of course I was working, but how many of us know people that work but don't get any results? Really, it was applying these principles that I wasn't even aware, I think, that I was doing it, but now that it's like one of those things that you do and then you learn about it, you're like, oh my God, that's why that worked, okay? So that's just a little recap, and the last 6 weeks was all about, the first 6 weeks was about the content and getting to know yourself, and the latter 6 weeks was about, really having the meat of leadership, like the different levels of leadership, and what does it mean to have integrity with your leadership, et cetera. So that has been the basis of our work. So for those of you who are just joining us today for the very first time, hang in there. A lot of us have already been around for 12 weeks doing these calls, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can get all the call series to you guys. It's only 30 minutes per call, so somehow I'm going to figure out to be able to do that for you guys. So anyhow, all right, so let's get down to it, and that is today's topic, or the rest of the 4 weeks, is going to be all about how to manifest what you want, how to bring forward what it is that you want, especially coming up to the end of the year. So if you have something to write with, this will be really, really valuable because I'm also going to give you guys homework, okay? And if you're driving, you're listening to this call, just you can either replay the call back later on to get the homework, or you can just, really pay attention and remember. So, all right, so here we go. So we're going to talk about what is it going to take to really bring forward what it is that you want out of your leadership and or out of your life. So number one is, which is the most basic thing, is like really take a moment to think about, and this is part of your homework, by the way, to think about what do you want for 2014? Like, what do you desire? What is it that you want to create? Who do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? And I'm going to invite you to start making it doesn't have to be a list. Everybody has their own style depending on your personality. Personally, I actually last year when I wrote out what I wanted, I actually wrote it out like in a paragraph form where I was describing like the different areas of my life, and I was actually describing like, certain areas of my life like in a paragraph form, like how it was going to be and how it was going to be. Some of you guys might make it into a list, okay? Whatever it is best for you, but you need to start thinking about what do you want your 2014 to look like? Who do you want to become? What do you want to do? And if you want to split it up in like a lot of categories, great. If you want to make it like just one big paragraph, because your life is one piece, that's great too. But to start being present to what you desire, but more importantly, to get really, really as much as you can, get as specific as you possibly can. The more specific you become, the more specific you get, the better. Because for you to say, I want to get to the next level, that's fine and dandy, but what does that mean? What does the next level mean? Like, for you to be specific, like 2014, I want to hit Get Team. 2014, I want to hit Mill Team. And if you can put a date to that, even better. Okay? So number one is to start writing out exactly what it is that you're going to desire and be specific as much as possible. But not only be specific with like the little things, but number two is I want you to start visualizing what that's going to look like. Start visualizing, for example, if you're going to get to that next level, start visualizing what does that level look like for you. And on that number two, when you start visualizing it, I want you to really start connecting to the emotions that goal is going to give you. Because here's the thing, for you to say, I want to get team, I want to get to that team, or whatever it may be, right? That's fine, but if it means nothing, okay? And that's why a lot of the times when people get a goal, whatever it is, whether it's school, Herbalife, or a sport, that's why a lot of the times whenever they accomplish a goal, they kind of sometimes get a little like let down, because the reason is they didn't have an attachment, an emotional feeling with it. They weren't specific, like what was that going to give you? You want to get to Mill Team or Get Team, whatever the case may be. That's great, but I'm sure of it that you don't want to get there just because you want to have a pin. But it's what it's going to give you, what it's going to allow you to do, what you'll be able to experience. So on the second part, I really want you to start visualizing what are those goals, what emotions will you be feeling? What will that allow you to do for other people? And really don't be superficial like, oh, it's going to make me feel good. No, like really write down, you know what, if I get to Mill Team by the end of the year, I'm going to be able, this is going to allow me to spend, take my family on vacation. It's going to allow me to whatever, and the more you get connected, and as you're writing down what it's going to allow you to do, the more you're going to be anchoring in emotion, the more your body's going to want to pull you there. See, a lot of the reasons why, and I know I'm guilty as well, a lot of the times why we don't get what we want or we don't really, get those things that we really desire is because there really isn't an emotional, thing there for it. Like you say, oh, I want this pair of shoes, but that's it, right? But if you, think, oh, my God, these pairs of shoes, and you get all this excitement on this dance I'm going to go to and this wedding I'm going to put them on, and you get all excited about it, you'll get in the car and you'll go and get them. But if you're just, superficially wanting them, you won't push yourself to do it. So if you're having a hard time right now getting yourself to do something, I can almost assure you it's not because you don't want it. It's because there's no emotional feeling with it, okay? So that's number two, and then start to really visualize what it is that you want. Get some emotion behind it. The more emotion, the more real you get, the better. Number three, and that is start aligning yourself with those things that you want. Okay, now what the heck does that mean, right? So this is why, for those of you who were on the call for the first 6 weeks, this is why we talk so much about self-reflection, why we talk so much about knowing yourself, talk so much about being self-aware. Now, for those of you who were not on the first six calls, I'm going to just give you a little cliff note, and that is pay attention. Be present, okay? Because when you pay attention and when you're present to what is going on, from your thoughts to your voices, to what you're what you're putting your attention on, that is going to start needing to shift, because the thoughts and the voices and the way that you have been talking to yourself has you being and living the way you're living and being right now. I really want you to get that. Your result, you're outside. I have my coach with me right now for a whole week, and she got here from Florida. And so we were talking about something, and she reminded me, and we all know this, but we forget. And I don't know, maybe you don't know this, but you're outside, the things that are around you, the way you live, your circumstances are all a reflection of what's going on inside of you. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. So everything that's going on outside of you, from the way you look, to the way you feel, to the way you live, to the car you drive, to the friends you have, to the partner you have, all of that stuff is a reflection of what you manifested inside of you. And, and I was telling her, I'm like, it's like awesome because you have responsibility. I mean, you have a power to change, but it also sucks because now you got to take responsibility. You can't be like, oh, the economy, oh, this, oh, that. No, it's like everything around you is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So what needs to alter is those things that we have, and I'm including myself on this. It's those things that we have been thinking about, the things we have been visualizing, the things that we have been saying, and it all starts with being present. It all starts with being self-aware. So as you write down what you want, as you're visualizing, as you're putting emotions into it, it is so important that that third layer, and that is to start aligning yourself with those desires and those things that you want. And how you start doing that is by being self-aware of what you're thinking, is by being self-aware of what you're visualizing, what you're saying to yourself. And really, when you start doing that, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to, you're going to be able to start shifting certain things within you that is going to start helping you start aligning yourself with what it is that you want. So I'll give you an example, okay? So, for example, one of the things that, I don't know who I was talking to the other day, right? Like they were saying, they were saying like, well, I have I want this, I want that, but in one of the things that I'm reading from this book called Ask for It and You Shall Receive It is that the universe will always give you what you want. Always. Like always, always. Right? And then the first thought was like, well, obviously not because I want this, but I'm living here and I want that, but I have this. And it's like, well, yeah. And the reason why, and I want you to pay attention to this, and that is because what you are desiring or what you're saying that you want is not in alignment. You're not in alignment with it. So, for example, let's say you're saying that you want your business to grow, okay, and you want to create a bigger team so that, and then you want to get team or meal team, whatever, right? But then all of a sudden you have these 2-3 new distributors, and then you maybe not directly to them, but then inside you're like, or maybe like in your thoughts, you're talking to other people, you're like, God, my team is so frustrating. So you're saying you want a bigger team, but then, on the piece of paper and for a moment you're actually, saying that you want to get to the next level. But then when you're like talking to your team or you're talking to a distributor, you're talking to your upline, you're like complaining about your team. Or you say you want more clients, but the couple of clients that you have, you complain about that. And especially when you put a lot of emotion behind what you're saying, it gets manifested that much faster. So here's the thing what a lot of us will do, and I'm including myself in this, is that we say we want X, but we have all these emotions and all this like complaints and anger on that X. So you're like telling the universe, I want to get to the next level, and I want to create a bigger team. But then every time you have a new distributor and he doesn't show up to the HOM and he doesn't go somewhere, you're like totally complaining about it. And you're totally like putting a lot of emotion, like, damn, these people are lazy or whatever the case may be. So what ends up happening is that whatever it is that you just said you wanted, bam, you just completely eliminated it. Because you're not in alignment. Like it's like you're telling the universe you want this, and then it kind of starts giving it to you, and then you complain about it. Okay? Another example is like, let's say you want to lose 10 pounds, and then all of a sudden there you are like losing a pound, and then you're like, damn it, I'm not losing it fast enough, and you start complaining about it. Boom, done. Okay, so here's the thing what I mean by being in alignment, and I'm taking a lot of time with this because this is where we, include myself, we all get stuck, and that is to be really self-aware of being in alignment with it. And the moment you start shifting from not being in alignment, the moment you start complaining about your organization, is immediately catch yourself and be like, I was just kidding. I was just delete it. I love my team. I understand them. I love them, But here's the thing. Again, you can your words at first might be totally fake because you're shifting your way of thinking. But if you say it enough times, it'll start to become real. Because at first you will feel like a fraud. You will feel fake. But if you do it enough times, you will start noticing that all those things will start to change. So that is the 3 things that we're going to be covering this week. And here's the thing I want you to get, is that the universe always gives you what you want. Always. Every time. It's like a math equation. 2 + 2 is 4, no matter what. Like people can, it's like all these theories, and they go, what can be 4.1? No, it's like mathematics. And the universe literally acts like math. It is like a formula. You ask, you shall receive. But here's the thing: what ends up happening is that you've got to be really connected to how you're feeling. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about this, because this is really gonna help a lot of you guys, especially the people that are on the phone from Fresno. A couple of people that were sharing with me is that, they are not too clear as far as like what they want out of their life, or they're not too clear what their why is. They're not too clear, like, well, I kind of know, but almost like they feel like, oh, what if I fail? What if I don't accomplish it? So this is going to really help you guys, and that is, when you're doing something, whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a fit camp, you're with the client, whatever it is that you're doing, or maybe you're like volunteering at the local charity place, okay? I want you to really start to get connected to how it is that you're feeling, and to really start connecting yourself, like, am I feeling good about this? Because at the end of the day, what happens is we are completely like a fountain of energy, okay? So what happens is, as you start becoming you start becoming aware of how it is that you're feeling, especially when you have some good emotions, what we'll end up doing is that you'll be connected more to that fountain of energy. So here's the thing I want you guys to start doing this week, and that is pay attention. Pay attention all this week. You guys have a lot of homework this week, okay? But pay attention. How are you feeling? Whenever you're doing something, do you feel good about it? Are you totally connected to like that feeling of, oh my God, this is awesome? Because if you are, you want to make sure you do more of that. Because when you are feeling super, super good, you're totally connected to that big fountain of energy, and the universe loves to give to those that are in alignment with it. So the better you feel, the more you do it, the more you're going to feel more energized, the more you're going to feel like your things are going to come easier, things are going to come faster. So when you're doing that boot camp, and if you're getting out of the car in a poopy attitude, check yourself. Because here's the thing. Also, the worse you feel, the more you block that fountain of energy. So if you're sitting here complaining, or whatever that case may be, you had a bad day. We all have those bad days. You've got to get this. The universe loves to give to those that are in alignment with it. The better you feel, the universe, it's almost like these angels go, damn, she really wants it. She feels good. She's grateful. Give her more of it. But for those of you that maybe you get one client and all of a sudden you're like complaining about this client, the universe is going to be thinking like, well, this person A is not grateful, B doesn't really want it, and C, the universe loves to make things feel good and be good. So if you're not feeling good about anything that you're doing, you're going to get less of it. So my encouragement to you guys this week is to really pay attention. Pay attention to how you feel, and the more you connect with that, the more you're going to, number one, be more connected to why you're on this earth. Like, what's your purpose on this earth? Like, what did God put you here for? What are you here to accomplish? What are you here to make a difference with? How are you here to contribute? And when you start really more and more and more, you start being aware, like, okay, this feels good, I'm going to do more of this. This feels good. And you will notice that the universe will literally, or God, whoever you want to think of, is literally going to dance with you and put you at the right places at the right time with the right people. And all of a sudden, that list that you said that you wanted, that desired, bam, it comes into fruition. And I'll give you a quick example of what I mean by this. When I was building my business, I got to Getty fairly fast. And then I was, still working and stuff like that. But then things were getting bumpy, right? Things were getting bumpy, and I started having a little bit of a bitter attitude. And about January, February, I was like not necessarily in the best mood going to the HOMs. And I went from having, because I was kind of like, I was doing the HOMs technically by myself with my team. I was starting to have, 15, 20 people at the HOMs every single Tuesday, Thursday. But then what happened was in December, actually, I started to really complain. I had this one boyfriend, and I was like, oh, my God, this business takes so much of my time, and da-da-da-da. I was 23 years old, you guys. I'm not justifying my behavior, but at 23, sometimes your priorities are totally, skewed, right? So I wanted to be more with him, and he was not the most supportive person of this business. So whenever I was on the call, he was like, oh, you're on the phone again. So all these things started to happen. So I started to complain. I started to be like, oh, my God, I don't want to be part. This business takes too much of my time, etc. So come January, I started doing the HOMs. Guess what? I hardly had anybody there. So it was like the universe was literally giving me what I wanted. I was sitting there complaining about the fact that all these HOMs, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? When I started going to the HOMs, there was hardly anybody there. And then February came along, it was the same thing. So I complained even more. So what happened was, in March, like we went to this one training, which is why it's so important that you guys go. And I know sometimes you're like, oh my God, another training. But here's the thing, especially for those of you who are just starting with your business, if you really want to accomplish that list of desires that I'm asking you guys to put together, that is, you must surround yourself as much as possible, especially the first year, to as much of positive energy as you possibly can. And there's no better place than at an Herbalife training, okay? Whether it's an HOM, a fit camp, plug yourself in as much as possible. And even if you're not taking anybody, go. Because what ends up happening is you start aligning yourself with that emotion of feeling good. And the more you get connected to how good you feel, the more that fountain of energy is just going to come down and pour on you. See, but if you're like at home, you're like, well, I don't have anybody, so I'm not going to go. What ends up happening is you're feeling worse, and the worse you feel, the more you block that fountain of energy. So for you to say, like, I'm going to wait until I have people to go to a training, you're totally working backwards, and that's why probably you're not getting the result that you want. So having said that, in March, I went to a training, and something shifted. So we started working again in April. We started doing a 90-day plan. And in April, like, you know, people started coming back. We started calling everybody, started getting them all excited, started doing this, you know, this 90-day plan. You know, we had this HOM followed by a training. That month, my royalties went up $1,000. Now, for those of you who are new, that's like a pretty big jump, okay? So $20,000 worth of business is what the increase was, to put it in like regular terms. And so what happened was my business grew $20,000 worth of business from March to April. And so when I got my check in May, I saw the check and I was like, oh my gosh. This May 12th, when I saw my royalties, I declared, I'm like, oh my God, I'm qualifying to Milty. And there was so much emotion behind it. There was so much passion behind it that you guys, that month, I was introduced to a couple of people that were in my organization that were not active, started coming around, and these couple of these people hit huge volumes. And that month in May, I hit my first cut to Milty. So that is how powerful it is. Like I always wanted to get there, but for a while I was in a funk, and for a while I was like saying the wrong things, focusing on the wrong stuff, declaring the wrong things, wanting one thing but saying another. So my alignment and my desires were not together. So what ends up happening is, you know, you've got to be aware of those things. And, I hope none of you guys are thinking, God, that's a lot of work to constantly be thinking about your feelings, your emotions. You know what? No, you do it all the time anyway. You just never were having, quote, unquote, control of it. Now it's like, okay, you know what? I'm out of alignment. Let me check myself. Let me put on some music. Let me get myself in a different state. Let me stand up different. Let me walk different. Let me start talking different. Let me speed up my voice. Because the moment you're like, well, like just by changing your tone of voice, changing your posture, changing your physiology, you can totally change the focus of what it is at that moment in time is not working for you. So what I want you to really get present to, and this is the homework of this week, is to, number one, focus on and start writing down what are those desires that you want for 2014. Start designing what the year is going to look like for you from all the areas of your life. Don't leave one out, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I don't care how successful you are. If you're not happy, that's not success, at least not to me, okay? So I want not only for you to think about what you want your year to look like, but how do you want to enjoy your year? And here's the thing I was telling the guys my last call, the call last night, and that is so many times we want to accomplish something, but the reasons why are so disconnected, right? Like you want to get to press team, for example, or get team. And then you're like, I want to get to get team. And then you get to get team and you're like miserable. The reason why is because you didn't enjoy the journey. The reason why is because all you were focusing on was this goal, but you were like not really being present to the things that you were experiencing in the process. So here's one of the things that when I got to Get Team, one of the reasons why I was so moving so fast was because I actually took time one Saturday a month to just be me, to focus on me. So, for example, after the quick start, the first Saturday of the month after our quick start, I would go to San Francisco. I was living in Sacramento at the time, and I would go to San Francisco. I would go on Priceline.com, book a hotel for like $60, and we would go to San Francisco, hang out, and then come back on Sunday, and I was like re-energized for the rest of the month. So guess what? I really enjoyed my process. When I was qualifying to meal team, I didn't do anything for myself. All I did was work. And I'm not saying not to work, but take at least a minute to breathe, right? Whether to do for yourself is going to work out once, for an hour a day, or maybe it's one massage a week, or I don't know. Here in LA, we have these $25 massage places I used to go to every Friday night. Was my date to myself. Things like that. You're telling the universe, okay, I'm happy. This is good. Give me more of it. I'm good. I'm in alignment. Give me more of it. And the universe will be happy to. But if you're miserable, working, not enjoying yourself, trust me, you're not going to get very far. And if you do, it won't last. Because the universe will stop giving to you because you're not enjoying it, because you're not happy with it. So enough with this happiness, right? But it's really, 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 really important. So the homework is, number one, get really clear on what it is that you want, what it is that you're desiring for 2014, design it. Number two, really visualize and put emotion behind those things that it is that you want. And number three is be aligned with those thoughts, being aligned with those desires through the way that you're thinking, what it is that you're saying, what it is that you're focusing on. Because here's what you want to get is whatever you pay attention to, is where you put your vibration on. Whatever you're putting your attention to, that's where your vibration is going. And whatever you offer vibration to, is what you end up getting. So I'm going to say that again. So whatever it is that you're focusing on, whatever it is that you're paying attention, this is all the law of attraction, right? Whatever it is that you're thinking about, you're whatever you pay attention to, that's your vibrations are going there. And whatever you give your vibration to is what you bring about to your life. So you've got to pay attention. Where are you flowing your energy? What are the things that you're thinking that you're giving all your vibrations to? So having said that, I'm going to give you another little piece of homework, and this is a 7-day challenge, okay? And we started this last night with the Spanish group, but we're starting it with you guys today, and that is for the next 7 days. Before you go to bed, when you're starting to brush your teeth and wash your face and stuff like that, using your new Herbalife skin, that is to start getting disconnected with anything with technology. Stop looking at your Facebook in the middle of the night. Stop looking at your Facebook when you're asleep. Stop looking at your emails when you're in bed. I'm going to challenge you for the next 7 days, okay? And I want you to see what it is how you feel when you do this, to disconnect yourself, right? Totally leave your phone by your table and go brush your teeth, wash your face. And when you go to bed, before you, as you're closing your eyes, if you pray or whatever it is that you do, but take a minute to just start being grateful and start thanking God for everything in your life, okay? Just close your eyes and start being grateful, for your family, for that you have you have a place to sleep, you have a place, to live, whatever it is that you want to be grateful for, and just start saying thank you. Okay, and if you don't fall asleep in the middle of that, start thinking about everything that you want for just 2014, and maybe you can even thank the universe, thank God for have already given it to you. So thank you for my qualification to get team. Thank you for my 10 pounds that I've lost. Thank whatever it is, right? You can even do that because the brain knows no difference between the truth and the truth and false, or from a make-believe or the reality. So if you start doing that, that's one thing. And before you wake up in bed, now this is where I'm having a hard time because I wake up and I have to run to the bathroom, right? So before you wake up, so I actually did it this morning. I was about to wake up and go to the bathroom, but I stood there just for 30 seconds and just thanked God for another day. And just thank you for another day. Thank you for my family. And I just gave thanks for 30 seconds, and I got up and then I went to the bathroom. So that's my challenge to you guys for the next 7 days, and I would love to hear next week how that went for you guys, okay? So let me start it off.